Do you think it was wise to leave, Gav? He didn't seem pleased.
I needed his eyes and nose in Dhalmekia. I'm not about to let Kupka take us unawares. Besides, he has a knack for that sort of thing.
That he does.
And wasn't it Sid who said that matters such as these are best left to dominance? Especially should one of his beloved opportunities to grow and change present itself.
I always knew that I would return one day. Return to Ironhome.
For what?
After learning the truth, you were given the chance to face your past. If I am to continue at your side, I must do the same.
We will face it together then.
To the end.
Come on.
How far do you think your mother's reach extends? Will we find the same tragedy in the south as we did at Martha's Rest?
More than likely. Which is why we should hurry. There are still many settlements between here and Port Isolde. We visit as many as we can and hear their stories. Starting with the village of Amber.
Jill has been talking about going back to Ironhome. Now, she wasn't from Ironhome originally. She was from somewhere up north. And it turns out she was some sort of like a political hostage, that she was sort of taken by Rosaria as sort of a like a Theon Greyjoy kind of situation. But she seemed to have been raised pretty well by them and treated almost like a sister. But after Rosaria fell, she was taken by the Ironblood, and well, it didn't work out too well for her. They turned her into a slave and a weapon, using her dominant powers in their wars and all that kind of stuff. So she's has to come to terms with what happened to her while she was in Ironhome, not while she was wherever she came from.
Mockery of justice is what it is. Lord Elwyn would never have stood for this.
Quiet, you! I think we're loyalists.
Jill, look.
Rosaria must be cleansed of the stain which befouls her, that she might rise once again from the ashes to welcome a new dawn. 'Twould be a pity to make examples of you all, for the transgressions of but a handful.
Of course, your lordship. You shall have our full cooperation.
What business could the Black Shields have in a village this small? There's barely room to hide a bearer.
Then they must be here for something else.
You fancy dancing a gallows jig like the miller's son?
Did you consider the possibility that the Black Shields are here to hunt you, maybe? Did you ever consider that possibility? The Black Shields are like a corrupted version of the Shields that used to be the sort of personal guard for the dominant who would be the king of Rosaria. These ones are very different. Aside from the fact that they dress all in black now, they're hunting down dominants and bearers now.
Excuse me, but what was all that about earlier?
You haven't heard? Someone's been stirring up trouble. There have been attacks on the garrison, supplies stolen. They even say a Black Shield was murdered. The Empire wants answers, and what the Empire wants, Empire gets.
Don't they just?
Keep your ears open, eh? The Black Shields will pay good coin for information on the culprits. You'd have to be dull as a sack of stones to think you could take on the Empire.
We're going on in for
I
help.
heard there were 1,000.
You seen him, didn't you?
I'm sorry.
The Black Shields. Just now. You seen them, didn't you? At least I think there was a Black Shields. Can't say I ever saw one before.
Was this the first time they visited the village?
What do you think? Amber's the arse end of nowhere. And they thought we might be harbouring firebrands. Huh. If only we were. I might have turned them in and become a Black Shield myself.
You don't think these firebrands the Empire is looking for could be us, do you?
I don't know. But we need to find out. Greetings, friend. We are travelers.
I know that. What do you want?
We couldn't help noticing those Imperial soldiers who were here earlier.
Don't you go telling these strangers a thing. I speak for the people of this village, and we have nothing more to say to you. You are to leave Amber and never come back.
May I at least ask why?
I don't know who you are or what brings you here, but your presence puts us all in grave danger. The Empire is a harsh master. Its demands are great, and its justice swift. But as long as we keep our heads down and pay our tributes, we are left alone. Some might call it submission. But if it will spare my people the Viceroy's wrath, then I will gladly submit. This village will not become another East Pool.
Then we shall be on our way. These people live with a knife to their throats. In the mistaken belief that if they cooperate, my mother will show them mercy.
Obedience bought with fear.
Are you all right?
Sorry, It's nothing. We still don't know who the Black Shields are looking for.
Well, whoever they are, the Imperials deem them worth pursuing to the back of beyond. But other than Martha, who else in Rosaria would have the courage to stand against the Empire? A new ally would certainly be welcome. Can we find them before the Imperials do? Perhaps the next village will yield more answers.
Perhaps.
This pass will take us through the mountains.
And directly into the path of whoever or whatever lurks here.
They're putting a lot of little villages in this game darted around the landscape. And it's a little bit of a change from what you would have seen in the earlier games in the series. Typically it was when you went to a village, that village was something that was important part in the game. There were some exceptions, like Final Fantasy VI tended to have insignificant villages, and 7 had like, what was that? Midial or something, I don't know, whatever. In this, though, we run into some villages where essentially we just go there to talk to one person and move our way through. And that's, I guess, it does give the game a little bit more of a realistic sense, where, like a sense of scale, where you're going to all these different places, but you're certainly not seeing the entire world. And population centers aren't just like here and then way out that way. It's like these little settlements dotted here and there kind of thing. Something else it does do is it gives us a few opportunities to see how people react differently to the events of the story. Now we have Sandbreak had essentially invaded Rosaria. Oh God, what was it? It must have been 17 years ago at this point. So a lot of these people, some of them have, for like pretty much their entire lives, if they're younger anyway, lived under Sambrake rule. And the older ones, I mean, they remember time before then, but it's been a long time. So how they may react to the Empire's presence is going to be different. Like, these people seem to be remote, even for Rosaria. So far from the capital. Technically, they were part of the kingdom, but they were far enough out there that nobody really pays attention to them or anything like that. So when you venture out here, you don't find you don't find a strong Rosaria or Imperial resistance, or not resistance, influence in the way these people tend to think. They're like, oh, we're out here and we'll just kind of survive. Like, so it wasn't like they had they treated the bearers the same way that the rest of Rosaria did, and they're not like under the thumb of Sambrake the same way. So when the Black Shields came out here, they're like, just give them whatever the hell they want. They're like, we're just trying to live our lives out here. And one guy says, like, yeah, if I had a bearer, I would have sold them for the firebrands, whatever the hell that is supposed to be. I guess possibly they are referring to Clive there, considering he is
4 of my mother's men.
But there are a lot of little places around in the environment. Kind of almost, I don't know. I don't really know what to compare it to. I guess you could say it's sort of like a Elder Scrolls game or a Bethesda game, where you have the large environment and then you have small villages here and there that may or may not be of any kind of importance. Although it's definitely a different kind of world. Like, Bethesda games tend to have an open world that goes in every direction from your starting point, and you have a fair amount of freedom when it comes to moving around. And this game is definitely like zones that you pass between. We're not seeing loading points in a lot of them, but you're like going into an area and then there's a pathway you may be able to explore in the area, but there's a fairly narrow pathway moving on to the next area. And that's, you're supposed to be funneled through those spaces. So it doesn't feel nearly as open as a Bethesda game, because it is nearly as open. And of course, being a much more linear game, that makes sense.
Blood, Clive.
And still wet.
You were told to stay in your homes.
The Black Shields.
You know who we are. And still, you would bear your steel. Why then? We owe you our thanks. You have saved us the trouble of an interrogation. To dwell in darkness, that we may purge the night and welcome lasting dawn. On these, our swords we swear.
Say that again. I'll show you a true shield, Rosaria.
Clive certainly takes a lot of offense to these people calling themselves the Black Shields. I guess because he was a shield. And I suppose the shields in Rosaria are like a venerated group. There's a lot of honor in being one of the shields. So these people going around and using this perverse version of the group that he belonged to would piss him off. How many of these guys are we going to kill our way through? Like, where do they come from, too? Are they, like, from Rosaria, or are they from Sambrake and they're just using the name? I don't know. So many abilities this game gives you. Just firing these things off. It's mostly about cooldown management. And there's some dodging and stuff, but it's mostly cooldown management. Just set his ass on fire, we'll be fine.
tell me what I want and the end will be swift. Who are you looking for?
Why, you. We come bearing a message. Your friends have been found. The branded you freed from our camps. They await you in Ordeal. Guardians of the Flame.
Those are Old Hill's gates.
Then we hurry. Find something, boy. Death.
Oh, found her.
This was my mother's doing.
But why? Why would anyone...
I don't know. I never truly understood her. But this...
Oh, Clive.
I will learn what madness drives her, and I will end it. We should go.
Yes.
We can't leave them here like this.
We won't. But if the Black Shields have made it this far south, they may already be in Port Isolde.